Dewis Choice is a co-produced initiative based at the Centre for Age, Gender and Social Justice at Aberystwyth University and is led by Sarah Weidel. The Centre team has been researching into violence and abuse of older people since 2012.
Established in 2015, the Dewis Choice initiative provides a co-produced service that integrates well-being and justice for older victim survivors from crisis through to recovery. It's also the first research project to undertake a prospective longitudinal study capturing the lived experiences of older people seeking help and justice in the context of domestic abuse.
With dedicated funding from Comic Relief, we have been providing specialist domestic abuse support for older people where dementia and domestic abuse coexist. And where safe to do so and appropriate, we have been supporting family members.
Domestic abuse in later life is a significant and under-recognised problem. Domestic abuse is a pattern of abuse that involves coercive and controlling behaviours and other forms of abuse such as physical, sexual, economic, emotional and psychological abuse. Domestic abuse may be perpetrated by an intimate partner or family member or both, and can occur across the lifespan. Despite our increasing awareness of older victim survivors, there is limited understanding of domestic abuse and the coexistence of dementia.
In the UK, approximately 850,000 people have dementia, the majority of whom are aged 65 years and over. The numbers of dementia are expected to rise to 2.1 million by 2051. Dementia is mostly caused by diseases of the brain, and signs of dementia may vary from each individual depending on which area of the brain is affected. For example, a person living with dementia may experience memory loss, difficulties in processing information, and problems with communication and language. Dementia can also affect a person's mobility and their perception of time and space. In addition, individuals can become distressed or disorientated.
People tend to assume that a diagnosis of dementia automatically means a person lacks mental capacity to make a decision for themselves. In reality, a person may be able to make decisions about their lives for a considerable amount of time. However, as dementia progresses, a person will need some support to make certain decisions. For example, they may require help with dealing with their finances, while still able to make day-to-day choices including what they eat, where they go and who they see.
A person with dementia is as likely to experience domestic violence and abuse as a person without dementia, and some studies show that the prevalence may be higher. Dewis Choice researchers have identified many different ways in which dementia and domestic abuse present in intimate partners and adult family member relationships. For example, domestic abuse may have been present in relationships for many decades prior to the onset of the dementia, and it could be that the victim survivor is now having to provide care for the perpetrator living with dementia.
Where the perpetrator has dementia, there can be an escalation in abuse and increased risk to the victim in a caring role, given the intimate care required. Conversely, the perpetrator may be the primary carer of the victim survivor, who may be adjusting to a diagnosis of dementia whilst dealing with the coercive and controlling behaviour of their partner or family member and a potential escalation in abusive behaviours.
Our research shows that a person with dementia can experience the same forms of abuse and range of severity, but the abusive behaviour may present and impact in unique ways. A perpetrator of domestic abuse will exploit aspects of the dementia to further isolate and control the intimate partner or family member, while resenting the shift in the relationship dynamic. Perpetrators often deliberately isolate the victim survivor from social networks and support services, and these signs may be masked by the dementia. The perpetrator may present to the outside world that they are indispensable and they're caring and attentive to onlookers. In these cases, the abuse and violence may be disguised or excused as caregiver stress.
Where the victim has dementia, perpetrator behaviours will aim to deliberately cause confusion, disorientation, undermine capacity and promote fears that the individual will not be believed if they disclose to practitioners or other people. As dementia advances, it will affect the person's ability to safeguard themselves and manage their own risks. There is very limited evidence that people living with dementia have engaged with domestic abuse services, partly because domestic abuse practitioners have not received guidance and training on how to joint work with dementia services where domestic abuse and dementia coexist, and partly due to false assumptions that domestic abuse does not exist in later life.
Our research shows that where practitioners identify the coexistence of dementia and domestic abuse, joint working is essential so that safety planning and dementia support can be provided to minimise the risk. Practitioners need to adopt a high degree of professional curiosity to gain an understanding of the complex dynamics presented to them by the person living with dementia and the person caring for them. Practitioners should make every effort to speak to each party individually to gain a fuller understanding of the relationship and their current support networks.
Supporting the victim survivor to keep contact with a wide range of professionals and social networks helps to increase the chances of safeguarding the victim survivors. We have seen how family, friends, and the wider community can play an active part in safety planning, promoting the well-being of the individual and disrupting the behaviour of perpetrators by keeping a watchful eye over the situation. Through our research, we have learnt there is value in using a coordinated community response that includes services such as carers support, social workers, dementia organisations, and domestic abuse specialists.
Our research at Dewis Choice has demonstrated that a significant shift is required to respond to the coexistence of dementia and domestic abuse. From our longitudinal research, we have created toolkits and free guidance for a range of practitioners to help assist them working with cases where dementia and domestic abuse coexists. This includes an engagement toolkit, guidance on legal options and safety planning, along with a few short films which can all be accessed on our website. To find out more about our research, service and guidance, plus our training, visit dewischoice.org.uk and follow us on Twitter at ChoiceOlderPPL.